Oh, you know where I'm going. We're gonna start from the bottom to the top, baby.
Charlotte, right? Charlotte.
Oh, we know where the bottom's at. Everybody know where the bottom's at. Who finished last?
There's a lot of bottoms down there too.
What do you mean?
Know?
That
joke get on my nerves. All right. So yeah. Let's get on this, man. So we got the Atlanta Falcons. Sean, you want to start it off, or you want to go last? I think we want to start.
Hey, man,
he said, "Yep, he ready."
You want me to go? DJ, you want me to go first? Okay.
You have to go first. This is your team.
Okay.
Spotlight him, man. Come on. Run through it.
Go first.
Hey, man. If I'm ever so kindly to introduce this depth chart to you guys, top to bottom. Let's start with the offense here, guys. Looking at this wide receiving core, there's a lot of questions, right? You see the names on the board: Drake London, Mac Hollins, Scotty Miller. Nothing to write home about, right? So what are these guys' roles? We got Drake London, who is an emerging wide receiver one in the NFL, right? His numbers in a running offense were immaculate, almost 900 yards, 4 touchdowns through 17 games in Ironman. A true number one in this league to come forward. We just needed a quarterback to sling him the ball, right? Out of the 800 yards that he had, almost 900, close to 400 yards came in those last 4 games with Desmond Ridder. So you got to say almost 40% of his production came in the last 4 games, yardage-wise, with Desmond Ridder. So if we multiply that out 17 games, we're talking about a 1,200 to 1,300 yard receiver just based on the connection that he had with Desmond Ridder. But we're not going to get in too much of the mathematics with you guys. So just to keep it pushing with the offensive line, which I think the offensive line is the best offensive line in the division, right? We have the best right guard in Chris Lindstrom, which is the best right guard in all of NFL, in all of the league, right? Solid tackles with Caleb McGarry, Jake Matthews, veteran tackles who know the game, who has pretty much seen it all at this point, right? Drew Dahlman, he's kind of shaky there, but my favorite pick in the 2023 draft is not Bijan Robinson. It's Matthew Bergeron, right? If you look at the tape, if you get down deep into them, YouTube, they have actual tape. We're not talking highlights, people. We're talking film, right? To show you his matchups against the top edge rushers in this draft. And you're going to see my man hold his own. You're going to see him have that ability to anchor down in the pass pro. And you see him have that nasty punch in that mauler field in the run game, which we primarily got him for, is to strengthen that run game. So you got him, that offensive line in front of young Desmond Ridder and our young backfield, Bijan Robinson, Tyler Allgeier, a veteran fullback, Keith Smith. So these guys are, dog, this offense is set and ready as a ticking time bomb to blow up. I think we're going to turn into one of the better offenses in this league. Play action will be lethal with the run game that we have. And Drake London, Kyle Pitts, Mac Hollins, man, they're going to show you that, you don't have to have 200 yards receiving per game. Give me a solid 80 to slice and cut and pour alcohol on the wounds while Bijan Robinson and Tyler Allgeier continue to gash them. We're going to use the wide receiving game and the receivers to pour salt and alcohol on those wounds after we gash them. So, hey, the offense is coming together perfectly. I like it. We have, the third best wide receiving core in the division behind Tampa, behind New Orleans, right? I'll give those two that, but I think this is an up and coming receiving core. We do have room to grow there, but man, overall, We need to improve at wide receiver, but offensive line, running back, fullback, quarterback, we're set. Touchdown. Falcons.
All right, I'm gonna go get mine, man, and I'll let DJ close it out with the offense, man.
What up, Buck for life?
What's up, Buck for life?
We're winning 11
What's
games.
up, Brandon King? What's good with you? Yeah, let me start with this offensive line, man. And the offensive line is the strength of this offense, and I'm a big believer that football games are won in the trenches. So, could they improve certain positions? Possibly, maybe the center position a little bit. But when you look at this overall, man, these guys have played together except for Matthew. And Matthew is a great pickup, man. If you have to ask me, I believe the Atlanta Falcons had the best draft. That's me personally. I believe Atlanta Falcons had the best draft in the NFC South. Now, they do have the worst wide receiving core in the NFL, but it doesn't matter if they have the worst wide receiver core in the NFL because their identity is something that they have more than anybody else in this division, which is an identity. Nobody else has an identity. We don't know what the Carolina Panthers offense is going to look like. We don't know what the Tampa Bay offense is going to look like. And we've seen what Pete Carmichael did with the offense last year. So when you take a look at the Atlanta Falcons offense, they have the identity, and their identity is running the daggone football. They were one of the best offenses in the NFL last year because of that. And now you add a guy who is a potential Hall of Famer based off just projections and his ability to do multiple things, a complete running back. And Bijan Robinson, one thing I will say is I've hit on these guys. I was a big Nick Chubb fan. I was Josh Jacobs fan. I mean, you see it in these guys, and he's one of those guys that can come in instantly and make a difference on a football team. This was a bad pick for the Atlanta Falcons for the rest of this division. This was a bad pick because this is what they do best, run the dang ball. And then they got the best rusher in this draft and who could possibly be a top 5 running back in the league, like as of a rookie. Like, that is dangerous. And I know a lot of Panther fans that are in here, and the Saints fans and Bucks fans and everybody in here just want to sleep on they drafted a running back in the first round. Who does that? Look at history. Look at history. A lot of the top running backs in this league came in the first round. So they got a bruiser, in my opinion, somebody that can do everything. And then you got Tyler Allgeier, who stepped up as a rookie from BYU. I was a big fan of him when he came out too, so I knew he was going to be solid and do all kind of things with the Atlanta Falcons. And so now you pair him up with Bijan, that's dangerous. Now you can use Cordero Patterson everywhere. You can use him on punt return. You can use him at wide receiver. You can use him at kickoff return. You can use him in the backfield. You can use him as a Swiss Army knife player on your offense. That is dangerous. Now, when it comes to Geno Smith, he had his best production with Arthur Smith. So why not go where he's going to utilize him and play, and he can go back possibly to where he was in Tennessee. Now, the thing that gets me is Kyle Pitts has all the talent in the world. And yes, he had a down year because he was hurt last year, and he also had Marcus Mariota. But the man had over 1,000 yards and 1 touchdown. I've never seen any playmaker have over 1,000 yards and 1 touchdown in a season. That has to improve. He has 3 total. That has to improve. He's too talented of a football player to only get in that box 3 times in 2 years. That's ridiculous. Ridiculous. Now, Desmond Ridder, hey, the jury's still out on him. DJ was a big fan of him. I'm not a huge fan of him, but I think he's talented. But based on what we saw the last 4 games, which hopefully it can translate and be better, if he's averaging 2 touchdowns in 4 games, in the 17 games, he's averaging 8 touchdowns a season. That ain't going to get it done. So I need to see more from him. But other than that, if they control the tempo, control the offense in the time of possession, which I believe, unfortunately, they'll be able to do because this is probably the scariest team, in my opinion. I don't think they're that scary, but they're the scariest team in the division to me, the Atlanta Falcons. But kudos to y'all, man. I think you hit on the offense, your first and second round. You win offense. You got some playmaker, got a playmaker, and you got an offensive lineman. And it speaks to what your identity is. So, hey, I think this is gonna. I hate to say it. I think it's gonna work out for Atlanta.
Oh.
Yeah, I mean, so Atlanta, I mean, they gave away what they want to do on offense. They said we don't give a damn how y'all feel about drafting a running back in the top 10. We're gonna run the ball, right? I mean, they re-signed Caleb McGarry, who isn't the best in the passing game, which I've always saw. But he's a dog when it comes to the running game. Like, that man will put you into the dirt when it comes to the running game. Lindstrom, all-around guard. I mean, he might arguably be one of the best. Now, that's the best lineman they got. I don't care what you say about Jake Matthews. Jake Matthews is a really good player, too. But overall, everybody on that line, they're going to road grade you when it comes to running that ball. They did it last year, and I think that's what spoke volumes to Tyler Allgeier getting as much production as he did, with only breaking 5 tackles with all that production. And you're going to now have Bijan, who does that. You're going to give him them same holes. And it's funny, Matthew Bergeron, who they got projected as a guard, was no more as a pass blocker with a quick first step, but he's more of a shielding type of a player than I'm a drive you back type of player. So I'm interested to see. I think that guard position is going to be in flux. I think I saw something with Atlanta, one of the coaches or something, talking about Gwynn being a dog. Like, they talked about him just being a mean son of a gun. So, for them to even mention him and he was our last pick, right? I think. Yep. I mean, for them to take the last player and, talk about him, I thought it was pretty interesting. But overall, yeah, I mean, Mac Hollins, you talked about it. You put in a little chat, one of the best wide receivers in the run game when it comes to blocking. It's very clear what y'all trying to continue to do, which is time possession ball, and we're going to just throw this down your throat as much as possible with the way you guys are shaped on offense. And do not go away from your identity and try to prove anybody wrong or right. Kudos to y'all for that.
Right. So why would you go and get like a flashy wide receiver too, like DeAndre Hopkins, or or trade it for my man out of the Allen Robinson or something like that, right? So we kind of get deemed for not having that type of wide receiver too, but at the same time, I don't think we are trying to invest in that position because we don't want to use it. It's probably not in use like that. Corey Davis. He's on. Keep him on your radar. Corey Davis, Jets to Atlanta, right? He had his good years with Arthur Smith, but I don't think we're invested in that wide receiver 2 position like that. I think we got a guy that can do what we need him to do as far as responsibilities, and has the ability to go downfield. So I think we could possibly get by.
I think you said that perfectly, because when it comes down to have to win a game, you're not going to be able to just ground and pound in the last 2 minutes to score a touchdown. You're going to have to put up the ball in the air and score some points because, look, the stats are out there. The last 4 minutes of the game is when many games are won. And if you're not able to put that ball in the end zone, and I understand you don't have to throw it 50, 60 times in a game, and the Atlanta Falcons aren't going to do that, and they don't need to do that with what they're going to do because they're playing time possession ball. But again, if you're down in the 4th, you're going to have to be able to put it in the air. Like I said, even with Jonnu Smith, I mean, he's another good blocking tight end. I mean, it's very clear what y'all want to do. But yeah, that's probably, if you got to ask a question, what is that going to look like when the games are tight and you do got to put it in the air and what it's going to look like? That's probably the only thing.
I mean, you got Drake London and Kyle Pitts. It kind of gives you two. It gives you 2 decent options there. So, but though it needs to improve. So I will concede that, right? I will concede we need to add that receiver.
Yeah, and they can do that, man.
Still better than Carolina, but yeah,
it's not. But we're gonna get there. I'm not a
fan.
That's
gonna be another. Yeah, we're gonna have to get there.
We're gonna get there. I wasn't a fan of Drake London coming out of the draft. I'm still not a fan of him. I don't think he does a lot of things great. I think he does some things that are good. He doesn't do anything great. So I don't think he's a true number 1. I think he is the number 1 now on this team because when you look at the receivers on this team, they're a bunch of 4, 5, 6 guys. So it's not hard to be a number 1. Kyle Pitts is a guy that's a freak of nature that I expect for him to turn up this year. He has to turn up this year. If not, he's gonna be looking like OJ Howard, first round pick, and then just being a bust. But I say this to say that. I say this to say that. I was quiet when y'all had y'all time. I'm gonna say this to say that. Arthur Smith averaged, even when he was in Tennessee, and even with the Atlanta Falcons, it's less than 30 pass attempts. He's right around that 27 pass attempts per game. So I understand what you're saying. I think the NFL is changing when it comes to running the football and passing the football. The Philadelphia Eagles are one of the best rushing deep offenses in the NFL. That's due to them having a mobile quarterback as well. But they got to the Super Bowl doing that. If you look at what happened in the Super Bowl with Patrick Mahomes, yeah, he balled out, but Pacheco was doing his thing. So the running game is very important in playoff time. It gets colder. All type of stuff happens. You have to be able to establish the run. And I expect that from a Bucks fan to think you got to put it in the air because y'all can't run the ball worth a darn. So that being said, I think their identity can create success for them. I don't know how far it's gonna take them, but I think they can have success with this because they're set up to run the ball better than probably, I would say, 85% of the teams in the NFL.
Right, 99% of the teams. So,
you got to get this in before we go to the deep.
Yeah. So when we talk about the Falcons, right? When we talking about the run game and the pass game, right? We're talking about wide receivers that are put into. When we talk in the context of our wide receivers, we got to take into context the scheme that they play in, right? And what they're asked to do. Are they, what route tree are they asked? Are they being asked to run 20 or 30 different routes a game? They're not. The 30 pass mark, right? If you look at the teams that are averaging over 30 to 40 passing attempts a game, they're losing a lot of those games. If you can get to that 20 to 25 pass attempts a game, that lets you know that, hey, I'm winning and I'm controlling that game. So I'm not going to ding Arthur Smith for averaging less than 30 yards, right? Because going back to Tennessee, he's won a lot of games. Even if you want to disrespect the Atlanta Falcons for not winning a lot, we've won 7 games each over the past 2 years. We won 14 games over the past 2 years with this roster, mainly due to the run, right? So he can win running the ball. That is, scientific fact by now, right? So that's what he believes in his philosophy. So if he feel like if he can get that part better and he can increase that, bro, that's more wins. So I think we have the best offense in the division, hands down. Next, can we get to the...
Yeah, we're going to go to the area that's going to help this offense out. And I think Sean is giving his offense a little way too much credit, but I understand why, because it's this part of the team that's improved on paper tremendously. So it should help out the offense a lot. So let's get into this defense.
Right. Defensive line, man. We attacked the defensive line hard. You see, there's an all-new restructured defensive line. Calais Campbell, David Onyemata, Grady Jarrett, Bud Dupree. We got questions on that line still. The questions are, what's Calais Campbell's desire on a 1-year deal this late in his career? What is his production going to look like? Bud Dupree, right? He's an Atlanta area kid, so we always got to give him that respect. But what is he going to produce for the Atlanta Falcons this late in his career? So there's still questions. Troy Anderson, Montana State guy, small school, started to come on at the end of the year, but he still needs a lot of improvement, a lot more experience as a linebacker. The secondary, I feel like the Atlanta Falcons will have the best secondary in the NFC South when it's all said and done. I like the young cornerback duo, AJ Terrell, Jeff Okudah, Jessie Bates, Richie Grant. All we need him to do is be a serviceable safety do not get beat, right? Do not make us look bad. I think we'll have the best secondary in the NFC South by the end of the season. Linebackers, I got questions there. I think we can get better with our linebackers. Lorenzo Carter, who is more of an edge rusher guy. Arnold Ebiketie, who's an edge rusher as well. So, we just got questions at linebacker, man. Can we produce at linebacker, and can we cover, right? Can we tackle? Can we cover?
All right, I'm gonna try to be quick as possible. Calais Campbell is a dog, still playing at a high level. Excellent pickup. Hated that he went to Atlanta, but I understand why. It's Black Hollywood. David Onyemata, good run stopper, good player, especially when he's the number 2 guy. You look at his history, man. When he's the number 2 guy, he balls out. And you know he's going to be number 2 because we know who number 1 is. Grady freaking Jarrett. My favorite player on the Atlanta Falcons by far. He's a dog. No, not in the division. Atlanta Falcons. Bud Dupree is Bud Dupree. I ain't worried about him. That's why you went and drafted Zach Harrison in the 3rd round, which is why you also have Ebiketie back there that can play his position. I know he's slated right behind Lorenzo Carter, but you never know. He might take his job. But Bud Dupree is playing on a prove-it deal, so he's going to have to prove it, and we're going to see what's going to happen. Kaden Elliss, I think, is a very good player. He gets an opportunity to get more snaps. We'll see what he gets when he see how he plays when he gets more reps as a full-time starter. Troy Anderson is a guy that a lot of Panther fans were looking at last year trying to get, a former quarterback that transferred into a linebacker. So when it comes to a former quarterback and he's playing middle linebacker, that's your quarterback on the defense. So he should be headsy and be able to get everybody in the position that he needs to get them into, regardless if his play isn't where it needs to be right now. He's still young. He can grow into that. Lorenzo Carter, all right. So when it comes to the secondary, I think this is where they've upgraded the most. I like A.J. Terrell. I think he's a player, even though he kind of had somewhat of a down year last year. Richie Grant was another guy Carolina was really big and high on. A lot of Panther fans wanted him out of the draft. Was it 2 years ago? A year or two ago? Yeah, 2 years ago. 2 years ago. Jessie Bates. I mean, what else can you say about Jessie Bates? Everybody know Jessie Bates produces, and he's been producing since he's been in the league. So I think he doesn't come to Atlanta and do the same thing. It's kind of, but who knows? Black Hollywood's different than Cincinnati, man. He got them strippers out there that's going to be popping that thing, all kind of stuff. So he might be a little bit more distracted. I pray and hope that happens. I hope it happens. Jeff
He's 26 years old, too. Still young.
Yeah, exactly. So Jeff Okudah, man, that's C.J. Henderson's cousin. I ain't worried about Jeff Okudah coming over there and doing anything, man. What? It's a new system. He gonna be rejuvenated. He gonna be the guy that they drafted the 1st round. I ain't buying that, man. Jeff Okudah gonna have to show me. So I ain't worried about that right side of the corner now.
Bro.
Now, when it comes to Clark Phillips III, I think y'all got a steal here in the 4th round. This guy to me was potentially second round, third round, second round graded corner that you were able to get in the 4th round. And somebody that you needed. Exactly. You hit it on the nail, man. I think he's a dog. So, I mean, when you look at this, man, you insert one rookie on your defense and you got a lot of veterans that has production, especially where it belongs, which is the trenches. Hey, man, the strength of this defense right now, I know you're talking about the secondary, but it could turn out to be what you need it to be, which is the trenches. So, I don't know, man. We'll see. We'll see about this defense. It definitely has a facelift. And it should be much better because that was the Achilles heel, if you ask me, about the Atlanta Falcons last year. Even though they were opportunistic and getting turnovers, they just couldn't sustain the turnovers to keep this team having success towards the end of the year. So this team here, though, I think is well put together. You had all the money in the world to do it, and I think you did a solid job, man. You did a good job, John.
Got to know how to spend the money, man. Hey, man, one thing real quick before we move on. I don't think Jeff Okudah, I know Jeff Okudah does not have C.J. Henderson type tape out there. So Jeff Okudah has not been embarrassed in the ways that C.J. Henderson has.
Are you serious? What I can tell you only watch football in the South.
Positive.
DJ, his wife is a Detroit line from Detroit, so that's a fan. I know he watches, and I've watched them too.
We're not talking narrative. We're not talking narrative. We're talking tape, bro. We We can pull the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. We can pull the Cincinnati Bengals tape from last year. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers tape from last year. Those are two dog-ass ugly tapes.
Bruh,
CJ Henderson. When we saw a guy straight give up. I saw this guy walking on the field. Look,
I don't care what you
Jeff
say.
Okudah has never did that.
The Detroit Lions had a horrendous defense, and they were so bad that they were willing to give up their first-round draft pick to Atlanta Falcons. This guy ain't it. And I hope, you feel like you can rejuvenate him with a first-time calling defensive coordinator?
No. I think you try to.
You're selling wolf tickets right now, my brother.
You know, it's really crazy when you use your own sorry ass player to disrespect another team's player. You use Jeff Okudah. You use CJ Henderson to bring down Jeff Okudah. You try to say CJ Henderson is so sorry. You say that Jeff Okudah, you play like this sorry ass dude that's on my team, right?
Exactly.
A guy that you got, a guy that you did. Oh, we haven't gotten to your depth chart yet. A guy that still slotted to start on your team.
No, he's not. No, he's not.
Yes, he is.
We'll get to that. But DJ, go ahead and do your
thing. The main thing I definitely pick up, I think it's a running theme that from the offense to the defense. Physicality. That was the point of what the Atlanta Falcons did, right? Calais Campbell, a big, towering lineman who's stout against the run. David Onyemata, a big, towering man, stout against the run. Bud Dupree, even off the edge, he's a bigger edge rusher. Just bringing that. Lorenzo Carter, he's still, I don't know what he played or how he played against the run. But those players by themselves, they're very stout and sound against the run just as a player, right? Jessie Bates is one of the highest graded run defending safeties in the league. Jeff Okudah, for how much he can't cover in coverage, he's not a bad player that comes up and hits against the run. So it's just, you could tell you guys went for a type of style of football that you guys expect to be played on defense is definitely against the run. Even Kaden Elliss, a damn Tasmanian devil when you get him going, and he likes to come downhill as well. It's very clear what you did with that. But again, the question still for me is pass rush. Where is it going to come from? I know Bud Dupree has some good years in his league. I know the last year he had an injury or something like that. I drafted Zach Harris, who overall, can bring some of that, but he's a rookie. But yeah, David Onyemata doesn't give you much from pass rush. Calais Campbell still gives you some push. But that's my biggest question when I'm looking at this. And overall, the secondary is strong, but Jeff Okudah in second, like I said, in coverage, it's still a question. Clark Phillips, that was another player. That's a player I liked. I think we all like Clark Phillips come out the draft. But yeah, the physicality part with the Atlanta Falcons, it is very clear and speaking. That's what you guys were shooting for with a lot of the decisions y'all made with y'all, draft and free agency. So, because y'all have been soft over the last couple of years, so I understand that. And obviously, the biggest question also is Ryan Nelson. You gotta also mention that never calling plays or being a defensive coordinator. So, how is he going to be able to use what he got? Right, he got a lot of talent added to this team. How does he put them in the best situation? Does he have a different philosophy as Dennis Allen, or is he going to want to rush his front and play, and kind of just keep your secondary back there and play coverage? That's the way he plays. Dennis Allen does not like to blitz a lot. He likes to go by his front and get the pressure with the front. He'll bring that blitz once in a while, and he usually hits home when he does it, but he's not somebody that does it all the time. So I'm very interested to see how Ryan Nelson actually schematically draws up this defense and what y'all going to look like. And that's all I got, man.
Good deal. What's up, Nick? Panthers.
I said enough with those. I know Sean just ready to move.
Let's get in this weak ass fucking wide receiver for these
He's so sick right now.
Peanut brittle fucking ass.
You feel it?